Hey, what's up guys, it's ElasticSpyder here, and in today's video we're looking at the somewhat recently new Tier 10 American light cruiser, the Worcester, or just to trigger some people, the Worcester. Any way you want to pronounce it, I don't care. I'll probably just call it the Worcester, because I guess that's how it's actually pronounced. Anyway, enough with my poor pronunciation. Let's get on to this battle. So we are looking at Epicenter on Tears of the Desert, which is kind of an interesting one game mode and also map to have this game mode on. This map, well, it's gone through many iterations and many different changes, and I think the current state of this map, Tears of the Desert, is actually quite fun, and it allows for a lot of interesting engagements. You'll see a few cross-map shots, not in this replay, but in general you'll see a lot of cross-map shots from battleships and even long-range cruisers as well. But it's a large enough map where if you don't want to deal with that, then you can kind of go more into certain positions that allow for that. However, in today's video we're going to be, well, in the Worcester. So what does that mean? That means that, well, we're not going to be doing long-range shooting. So, before we get too into the replay, let's get into my build. So, I am running, where is it? Priority Target, Adrenaline Rush, Superintendent, Concealment Expert. That's the basic build I would go with. Pretty standard. However, if you're still grinding the Cleveland, or, you know, ships around there, I would probably actually pick IFHE first, just because you can do a lot more pen damage, and you don't really need your radar until tier 8, when you would hopefully have a 14-point captain with Concealment Expert. But then, so Priority Target, Adrenaline Rush, Superintendent, Concealment Expert, IFHE of course, and then I go with Manual AA, and the reason being is I'll get to that in a second. I want to go over my modules first. I'm running main armors mod 1, radar mod if you have it, AA guns, propulsion, and I will put a little asterisk here. I've been testing both the propulsion and the steering gear. As of right now, I've had better results with the propulsion, actually, which is a bit odd considering most of the time I'm doing open water kiting like you see here. But either way, I'm running propulsion in this replay, but steering gear still works. Concealment, and then main battery mod 3. So, thus far, we've pretty much wrecked that Akizuki. We've gotten a nice fire on that Missouri, and now we just got one on that Torpedes. So actually he DCP'd, which is kind of interesting. Will I be able to get a fire? Probably not, because that's just how the game works. As soon as someone bombs one fire, usually you don't get many fires in return. So you see here, I pushed up aggressively. I didn't need to use my radar. However, if I needed to, I could have, and completely obliterated and basically really surprised that Akizuki. However, I didn't really need that. But I had that option to do so. And then, well, I'm not going to just sit there next to the island. I'm just going to start kiting out. The reason being is, well, the Worcester is actually a pretty strong ship when kiting out. It's quite slender, which means it's hard to hit. But it is also decently maneuverable, too. With the propulsion mod, it has 8.5 second rudder shift, and that's not quite very maneuverable, but it does have a good forward speed, which is nice. It's I don't want to give an exact number because I don't know it off the top of my head, but it's definitely around 32, 33. If you put the speed flag on there, then you can get it a little bit higher too. So it's got decent maneuverability. It's weird because, like I said, I play this like a kiting cruiser, but I mean, it doesn't really. Usually in a kiting cruiser you want great shell velocity and that sort of thing. but that's not what the Worcester has, and it doesn't have good speed to get out of situations like the Henri does. It doesn't. I mean, it has great stealth, so it can get out of situations the Zhao can, but it doesn't really have good armor to support that, which makes the ship very interesting. And you really just, in my opinion, have to keep on the move. Sitting behind islands in the Worcester is... It's something that is not viable, in my opinion, anymore. I don't think... the Cleveland, you can get away with it. The Seattle, kind of still get away with it. Shell arcs are good enough on the Seattle where you could do such a thing like that. Worcester, I feel like the shell arcs are actually slightly worse, or better, I guess. They're more flat than the Seattle. I could be wrong. They could be the same exact shell, but that's just how I feel. I know that has a lot of people getting, or there's a lot of controversy about how people feel in facts, but nonetheless, that's just my experience with it. Is that it seems like I haven't been able to shoot over the same islands, or islands that I would expect to shoot over I can't, that sort of thing. However, I'm not going to let that stop me. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to find different ways to attack the game, and in my opinion, just island hopping isn't really, I guess, suitable for the Worcester. I mean, you can still do it. I'm not saying you can't do it, but I do think that if you just purely stick to islands and island hop, I think you're limiting your potential greatly. So here we're just farming the Baltimore. Missouri's kind of popping up, a little bit slow. Now with IFHE, that means that I can pen 32mm plates, which is a very good sign because most of the battleships and higher tier cruisers have 32mm plating or something of the like. So IFHE is definitely necessary. However, this still has very good AP, and well, first salvo on the Missouri, 6,500. If I can get my full salvo off, well, it's a little bit better. But never deny the fact that this thing has great AP potential. Now, I would say only use great AP potential if you're inside 8 kilometers. These are 152, so they don't have the greatest pen in the world. But when you're shooting at the upper belt, which is pretty much all 32mm, well, you can start seeing the damage rack in. And you might say, well, why not shoot HE? Well, the thing when you get close is that HE has a static pen value, whereas AP depends on range, depends on armor angling, that sort of thing, so you can get a lot more potential out of your AP. Now, with that being said, as soon as a target starts to angle, well, then start thinking about switching to HE. So here at this point, I'm going to, well, I want more damage. 129 is not good enough for me. The Missouri's running away. Pretty much all their ships are running away, except for this Des Moines and Baltimore. And my ships are kind of being static. You can kind of see that. They're all on the eye line. So what am I going to do? I'm going to push the objective, which is to get rid of that Des Moines and Baltimore. Unfortunately, that Baltimore goes down. But nonetheless, we'll still continue on. So, I mentioned earlier, with my build, the reason I use manual AA is a couple reasons. One, the overall detection of the Worcester is 9.5 with my current build. By sea, by air, it's 7.2, and this is very important because if you use both AFT and manual AA, then you are completely limiting your IFHE potential or your scouting potential. And oh boy, here, look at this Des Moines, this poor guy, 3 kilometers. Well, we're gonna load AP. It's stuck on the island. 5 citadels. Luckily, he's shooting HE. 8 citadels later, well, that guy is dead. Not sure what I'm stuck on here, but nonetheless, let's continue on. So, 9.5 kilometer detect by sea, 7.2 by air. Now, if you have AFT and manual AA and AA guns, well then you're going to be pushing, I think, 8.6 kilometer AA range. And the problem with that is you have to manage your keeping your AA on and off very, very well. You have to turn it off when planes aren't outside of 8.6 and you don't want to get detected, and then you have to turn them on again and blah 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 blah. So that's the reason why I don't pick AFT, and the other reason would be because I also would have to either drop concealment, manual AA, or IFHE, and IFHE is too critical, and I also believe concealment on the ship is too critical, which is also why I don't recommend the legendary mod. So, and just to give you some perspective on another reason why I would recommend manual AA instead of something like AFT is because your long range AA does 121 stock DPS. Now you can buff this a little bit with your signal flags and that sort of thing. 121 average DPS for the long range. Mediums, those 76 millimeters, 346 combined DPS, and the short range, the 20 mils, do 73 average DPS. And again, these are all stock. Now, the reason why I do manual AA is because if you multiply the long range, which is 121 stock, by 2, which is the multiplier, you get 242 base AA DPS. Multiply that by 3 with your defensive fire, and at 7.2 kilometers, as soon as those planes enter your AA range, you're doing 726 average DPS, which is quite high, considering midway planes are sitting around 2,000, maybe a little bit higher, 2,100 average DPS. You're doing about you got a 40% chance of shooting down a plane, which is quite high. Now and then. So if you didn't have manual AA, that would be around 400, and that is significantly worse. That's around 25%. So that's why I pick manual AA, because the planes have to sit in my longer range AA. That's most of the time, and so I want the most DPS there. And then if something for whatever reason is trying to strike me, then well, they'll just be going into my upwards of 1,000 DPS from my mid-range alone. And well, you know, add that to the nearly 800 DPS that I have with my long range. Well, not many planes are going to survive going in on a Worcester. And you know what, maybe I'll do an AA test on the Worcester sometime soon. I'll just maybe upload it on an off day or something. But that's the reason why I choose manual AA. I think it's a correct choice in my opinion. I think my build provides the best all around survivability, anti-air capabilities, basically everything capabilities, and survivability as well. And the other thing I forgot to mention too is the range is great on this ship, and there's no reason why you shouldn't pick main battery reload, because you can get your reload down to, I think, 4 seconds. And well, AP loaded on this Neptune, blap, he goes bye-bye. Alright guys, so I know I threw a lot of statistics out there for you, and I hope you kind of took it all in, but I think the Worcester is, it's a ship that relies heavily on its statistics, but sometimes those statistics can feel misleading, and the general gameplay of the ship as well is, I think, a bit misleading. I think you saw here, I pretty much sat behind an island maybe like once, and even that, I wasn't just stopping there. I think I just got clipped by the island. Nonetheless, you know, I didn't sit a lot behind islands. It's pretty much all open water, so open water Worcester is completely viable. Same thing with the Des Moines. Just because your shell arcs are poor doesn't mean that you can't open water kite. So with that being said, let's look at post-battle results. 200k, not bad. 2 ships killed, 11 citadels, 2 base captures, 10 fires, Confederate high caliber. Very, very nice game. Team score wise, 2789. Top on the leaderboard, beating the next guy on our team by about 1250 XP, which is quite good. The enemy team didn't fare too well, as we can see there. And then here's the damage distribution and whatever. So for the most part, you saw I wasn't taking a lot of damage, and that's not what the Worcester is designed to do. That's not what cruisers are designed to do, unless your name, I guess, is Stalingrad, but that's a different story. The point of cruisers is to be versatile, be able to maneuver and get into good positions to counter the enemy. And when you put a Worcester on a flank, kiting, like you saw here, well, it's hard not to, it's hard not to keep, you have to keep this ship in check. Like, you always need to know where the Worcester is, because wherever he goes, or wherever she goes, it's going to be a bad day for the enemy. So I hope you guys enjoyed this replay. If you did, leave a like. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. Share this video with your friends. That sort of thing. And I hope you enjoyed the video, learned something too. I hope you learned something. But anyways, I hope you have a wonderful day, guys, and I will see you in the next one.